Hey there, my friends. This is Bill MacDonald. Welcome to our play, The Gift of Rhyme. Now, before we even get started, I need to make sure we discuss the difference between two different types of selections, two different genres. If you have a poem, a poem has groups of stanzas, and every single stanza has a specific number of lines. And it's up to the author how many lines that each stanza has. So if this is stanza 1, it could have 4 lines. Stanza 2 might have 4 lines, or it might have more, or it might have less. It just depends on if it's a structured poem with blank verse that rhymes, or blank verse that doesn't rhyme, or free verse that there it just doesn't matter. But I just want to say, a line in a poem is different than a line in a play. When they say line please, it's not just one line, it's everything that the actor in the play says during that line. It could be one sentence, 2 sentences, 3, or even more. In one of the lines we're going to look at, one of the children in our play is going to be rapping an entire poem. So that's several lines. And so make sure you teach your students the difference that a line in a play is completely different than a line in a poem. So with that being said and taught, let's take a look at a question that did pretty poorly based on the difference between understanding what a line and a sentence is inside a play. So question number 13, as you can see, it only got 54% correct. That means the student was only looking at the sentence that was in the box. And let me show you why that's the problem. It says, read this sentence from line 10. So what I've done for you is I went ahead and got a box, because sometimes you can tell the answer to a question based on what's inside the box. So as you can see, I'm going to take off the lid of the box. It says line 10. And because it's a box question, I went ahead and spent an entire dollar for you guys at the Dollar Tree so you could see line 10. Line 10 has this girl named Amy talking. And I want you to notice Amy, the subject of our question. This line is meant to show that Amy. Now, since the top part says read this sentence from line 10, if all your students did was read that one sentence, they didn't understand that the question, this part down here, wasn't asking about a sentence, it was asking about the entire line. So let's go ahead and read the sentence that they gave us from Amy's point of view. I'll use a girl's voice. Look, if you had a piece of food stuck in your teeth, I would let you know. So Amy is saying that if she sees something in the teeth of one of her friends, whoever it is, she would let her know. Okay. So that was one thing that came out of Amy's mouth. So if you only look at the answer choices based on that one sentence from line 10 and forget to notice that they're asking the question, this line is meant to show something about our subject, Amy. Let's look at our choices and see what happened. Amy does not like to be told that she's wrong. I can't really see her getting upset about being right. It's too hard to infer from that alone. She wishes that Belle wasn't such a messy eater. Well, there's food and she can see that it's stuck in her teeth. Perhaps that could be it, but only 6% of the kids got that as a distraction. Letter C. Amy thinks that she's being a good friend to Bella. Based on that, hey, if you had a piece of food and stuck in your teeth, I would let you know. But here's the problem. Letter D says notices things that other people don't see. So if you had a piece of food stuck in your teeth, how would you know? I would see it. I would let you know. But here's what's going to have to happen. Your students are going to have to look at the entire line, not just at one thing that Amy said on line 10, but the second thing that she said. So I went ahead and labeled line number 10 as question number 13. Let's see what else Amy said so that maybe we can get rid of this 50-50. I'm not sure which one they're asking me. There's the line that's in the box. Look, if you had a piece of food, stuck in your teeth, I would let you know. So I'm going to tell you that you sound pretty silly when you rap. That was the second thing that she said. Now, is she making fun of her? She sees things that other people don't see. Well, because it even says the words, I'm going to tell you that you sound silly when you rap. I think telling them, depending on where she tells her and when she tells her, that will be important. Now, I want you to notice, I think now that it's not something that she sees to show her character. She just notices things. It seems like she's trying to be a good friend by what she would say. If you sound silly when you're rapping, I'm going to tell you. And I want you to notice sometimes actions speak louder than words. So let's take a look at what happens immediately after. I'm going to go outside the box, outside of line 10. So I'm going to put right afterwards the staging. The staging is basically a little bit of what you might call it's like the directions, but it's the setting. It's usually the who does what, where, and when. Amy is the who. Bella is a who. What does she do? She pats Bella on the shoulder. So if I point at you and start laughing, I think that I could probably tell that you're not trying to be a good friend. But if I see that someone's patting me on my shoulder, there wasn't any burping going on. There wasn't choking. It was her gently patting her friend Bella on the shoulder, then walking away. So you can infer between line 10 and line 11, if this is line 10 and this is line 11, if you can infer, read between the lines, you're going to be able to tell. I think the reason that she's patting her on the shoulder is she's just trying to tell you nicely, you know what, you don't sound very good. So with the entire line and the next line, it helps a little bit. But sometimes, because this play is the form of a story, like fiction is, and like literary nonfiction is a story that happened in the past, and some of the poems that the state showed you, I want you to think of your hand now as a set of scenes in a play, or a stanza, scenes or stanzas in a poem. And so here I have different lines. Scene 1 was only asking about line number 10. And here's the thing, line number 10 had 2 sentences, and they were not asking about the sentence mentioned in the box. They were asking to give you a guesstimate about the character of Amy based on the 2 things that came out of her mouth. And you can also infer that if she patted her on the back, well, for the fun of helping kids who struggle with reading, I'm going to say that life happens at full speed, but reading and writing happen in slow motion, one detail, one sentence, and in this case, one line at a time. And so what we'll do is we're going to rewind using our storytelling remote. I'll call it my pencil. I'm going to rewind. Beep, 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 beep. I'm going to go backwards, not just to line 6. I'm going to rewind all the way to the beginning so you can see all of scene 1 that just happens to have 11 lines. 2 of them are the stage directions. Think about setting the senses, the who did what, where, or when, basically, and then it's like action. So let's take a look, and what I'll do is I will show you a way, and this is on my revising graphic organizer. I have an arm when we're doing revising, but I use the acronym ARMS when we're doing reading, which stands for, in English, Actors Remember More Sequence. Okay, the sequence of this play, I'll be able to act it out and remember more of what's happening. And so since the lines that the question was about were just on line 10 and your students couldn't understand it, you might have to rewind back a little bit, but just for the sake of fun, I want to rewind to the beginning of the entire scene. And in this part of the scene, only Bella, Scott, and Amy are needed for scene 1. So you might have 3 students, and you can do readers theater where they can just read it straight from their own desks. Or if you're still doing spacing in your classroom, you could have them sit a little bit apart and they can read and try to put a little bit of their voice into it. The character that's not going to be able to be shy is going to have to be Bella in line 4. So you see how line 4 has several sentences? So make sure your kids use these last several months to understand that a line is in a play can be much longer than a line in a poem. If you're working with Spanish students, you can use arms in Spanish. It's the same content. Actores recuerdan más secuencia. The sequence of the story, the play, the poem, the literary nonfiction. So line one, sorry about that. Let me put the right line on top and we'll do these pretty quickly. Line 1, the scene opens in the school cafeteria. So that's why I had a cafeteria as my virtual background today. Bella, Scott, and Amy. And so the three, you can see 2 girls and a boy. Those are the main characters. What are they doing? They're eating lunch in the cafeteria with their classmates. Bella, I'm nervous about the spelling test this afternoon. Line 3, Scott, don't be, Bella. Remember what I told you? Remember, you hear a word that ends with the shun sound, you just have to write T-I-O-N at the end of it. Bella, line 4, glumly. So it's going to be a sad one. And notice that there's no quotation marks, but in a play, unless it has brackets, it's people talking. You make it sound so easy. Directions. Who, what, when, where. Bella is silent for a moment, and then she begins. In the corner, this is me being silent. Imagine that she's thinking a little bit. She might rub her chin. She might scrunch her head. And suddenly, she just bursts into rapping. I studied for this test like I had a fascination, no hesitation, like my life wouldn't go on without the sun sensation. But now I'm getting nervous about my limitation. I try to pay attention, but then it feels like my brain just loses its retention. Oh yeah, and did I mention that an every Friday test was not a great invention? That's all line 4. Now, line 5, laughter is heard. We can't infer, we can't really tell. Are they laughing for her, with her, or at her? But I'm going to guess they're laughing at her because of what happens next. Laughter is heard, and so this is your cue. If you're doing this with your classroom as 5th grade teachers practicing a 4th grade play, because your 5th grade students would never get this on a test, we can practice some of our 4th grade material with our 5th grade students, because as you can see, half the students miss the question that we're talking about. As Bella, comma, Scott, comma, and Amy stand up and gather their belongings, Amy stops Bella. So one of these two characters has to be Amy, one has to be Bella. So Amy, the one who doesn't do the singing, the one who might be more brave in your classroom, stops her. Line 6. Can I ask you something? Bella nods. Why do you always rap in front of everybody? I sing in the shower sometimes, but I don't think I would sing while everyone is eating their lunch. Line 6. That was 1, some directions, 2, 3 complete sentences with a compound sentence with a coordinating conjunction. Bella, what do you mean? Amy. Well, I would be embarrassed if everyone were laughing at me. So there's the first big clue. She's trying to tell her friend Bella in a nice way that maybe it's not a good place to practice your rapping. I thought it was kind of cool. It rhymed at the end. It had a meaning, but apparently kids will be kids and they're going to make fun of you, especially in some cases if you're better than them at something. In order to protect their personality, their character, they're going to laugh at you. Line 9. Really? And then we get to line 10, the focus of our question. Look, if you had a piece of food stuck in your teeth, I would let you know. So I'm going to tell you that you sound pretty silly when you rap. So all of that, asking if she can talk to her about something and tell her, and even the pat on the shoulder at the end, kind of lets you know that, in fact, this young lady named Amy is trying to be a good friend, and she thinks she's being a good friend by telling her friend, maybe you shouldn't do that. And that was the second line. And just to kind of help with if there were quotation marks, you could put opening quotations in front of the mouth, have the mouth being what they say, and closing quotations after the mouth. But it was that second line, that second sentence on the line 10. I'm going to tell you that you sound pretty silly when you rap. That was her trying to be a good friend and let her know she didn't say that she was a horrible singer. It's just kind of silly to use a cafeteria as your stage, as your audience, especially if kids are doing their own thing and they don't need your distraction. They don't want you trying to get attention in a way. So unless she sounded absolutely amazing, then Amy's going to be that good friend and tell her. So the point I want to get at is sometimes you need to slow life down and act out the play or the scene of the entire scene like we did. We didn't need the rest because we just need the context of scene 1, which was fingers 1 through 11. But just remember this, that a line in a poem is only one line, but a line in a play is everything that that one character says until he or she stops talking. So if you draw little heads, you can say, okay, on line number, let me look where the rap came out. On line number 4, if the rap was said in 9 sentences, then you could have the word Bella, line 4, and then have 9 little mouths or 8 mouths, and you could have the brackets instead of a mouth. You could just have the brackets where it gives you the setting, the staging, the who did what, where, and when. So I hope that that helps. Please share or tag one of your reading teacher friends that's trying to teach the concept of plays and scenes and learning the difference between the line in a play compared to the line in a poem. I'm going to be spending the next 30 to 50 days helping any reading teachers. I feel like I'm good at what I do. I have gotten several messages and comments from lots of you about how the strategies have helped. If you feel like you would like me to spend the next 30 to 50 days, moving your reading scores higher 30 to 50 percentage points. In other words, 30 to 50% of growth, then I'm going to offer a daily training where just you guys that pay in my small fee of $30 will be able to get the links, and you'll be able to get daily. And right now we've got uh, third, fourth, and fifth would be one group that I'll focus on. And if I get enough demand, I'll do a separate one for like sixth, seventh, eighth, and high school. It's one for secondary, covering the reading skills and concepts for you guys. And we'll have a separate one just for third, fourth, and fifth. And what I'm hoping is that if your kids who are doing very poorly can show growth, your name is not Jesus, Wonder Woman, or Superman, but if you can show growth, you would love to be able to see those kids who might be at a 10 or a 20% comprehension right now, be able to gain 10, 20, 30% more in the time that's left. And we're hoping that some of your kids who are somewhere in the middle of the pack, they're not quite at approaches, that the strategies I'll share with you and the strategies that you'll share with me. Some of you are going to be asked to come on and do a quick Zoom video lesson, those that are willing. If you have a strategy and idea, we'll have a Zoom session between you and myself. It'll be recorded. It'll be just live between us. So if you make a mistake, we can start over, but let me know in the comment section what grade level you teach, and I'd be glad to help you move your students from struggling towards growth, from growth to approaches, approaches to meets, or meets to masters, just by using some tweaks, differentiating the instruction in ways that the student can see, hear, taste, smell, touch. We were acting out this time, and we used an actual box to think of the lines inside the box. So I'll just be spending all the way up until May helping anyone who's willing for that small fee of $30, hoping that we as a team, we as in you and me, can help your students show some great growth over the next couple months. And if you're an administrator, you might be so kind as to gift this to one of your teachers who just needs somebody, a tutor, to come alongside and help them. Several of you are teaching reading for the first year and are stuck. And I feel like I present things in a way that make very difficult things a lot easier to understand and comprehend. So share this, tag your reading and writing teacher friends. I look forward to seeing many of you in our tutoring sessions over the next several months. Goodbye and God bless.